what's up guys? It's Graham Hayes here. Welcome back to the channel, I guess. Posted a video last week, depending on when I post this one. But moral of the story, that video was an older video. It was from earlier this year. It was about that nitrous motor we tore up. Anyway, moral of the story, that video wasn't our drag week video, and I've had some people get confused. So I wanted to post this and kind of go through this. I wasn't really going to share it just because, I don't know, just wasn't going to share it. We tried doing some filming at drag week. We got the first day really good. Me and Eric were both, on our phones, taking good videos, commentary, keeping y'all in the loop. And then, man, the first day was so rough on us, which we'll get in here in a second. But the first day was so rough on us that that's where we stopped. That's what I'll say. Because we did some other days, but they were so sporadic and we kept missing stuff. And when I went to try to put a video together for drag week, it was pretty rough. So I ended up just kind of nixing that. I may post the first day, probably not, but I just want to go over some stuff, let y'all know what happened, just so everyone's in the same loop and no one starts making up stories or thinking something is what it's not. So with that being said, let's jump into it. I'm going to show y'all how our week started off and ended. Okay, guys, so what you see there, well, first things first, dang. The nose paint job, man, I've really fell in love with it. So we put the black top on it and added the stripes on it, and man, I really fell in love with it. Chris, man, he knocked this thing out the park. I don't know the name of Chris's shop. But Chris, man, he really knocked this thing out the park. Chris Ellis, I guess it's Chris Ellis. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him. But him and then our buddy Jack that hangs around. He was an old body man. Used to work on World War II planes. And he helped him, man, and they knocked this thing out for us quick. Couple days, really turned this thing around. But yeah, me and Dad wanted to do one thing, I wanted to do another thing. We dropped it off there. We were like, here, these are what we like, and he came up with this on his own, and I really like it. So definitely kind of a little bit more unique now, stands out a little bit more. So first thing I want to get into is about that girl right there. So obviously she's got a hole in her, and she's got a crack in the block. Which that crack in the block isn't the end of the world. It's actually got a main that's cracked in it. So that block, the crack in the main is a much bigger deal. But yeah, this is our par 540 twin turbo HPT twin 88s. We ran in competition. I believe our best was a 621 day one, and then we backed it up on day three with a 628 maybe. 620 something, but we actually have been teens. We've been 619 with this motor. We actually did that on Saturday before the event. So that's where we want to start the story off about what happened with this motor. So we're gonna come over here to the parts pile, and I'll pick up there. So I'll probably splice some video in here of our runs from Saturday. So we made two runs. The first one went really well. I took it all the way out the back. It went a 621. 236, 234. Came back when a 619. I was out of it at 5.9, and it went 100. It went 218 miles an hour, something like that. The time slips were laying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 624, 231. We backed up back up later that night with a. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, when a 621 at 220, I was out of it at 5.8. Thing probably would have went mid-teen. I'm not sure where our 19 pass is. We may have done that at Rockingham then, because we were testing at Rockingham before we went up. But moral of the story, so we make those two passes on Saturday. We decide, hey, everything's good. We're going to go through the whole car on Sunday. We're going to get teched in. After tech, they do some testing. We're not going to participate. We're just going to hang out, and we're going to go through the whole car. So all the wheel bearings, transmission, U-joints, you know, everything you can think of, transmission fluid, all the wiring stuff. I mean, just went through the whole car, made sure everything was right, packed our little trailer up, made sure we had all our pieces and parts. And while we were doing this, I found, and a lot of these parts have gotten mixed and matched, but I found a adjuster, probably not this one, but I found a rocker arm adjuster that was a little beat up, and we had this push rod, which this is the push rod, but this push rod that is a little beat up on the end, and we had about 10 thou of play extra in that rocker arm. So that's probably the adjuster right there that was in there when that got tore up when we found it on Sunday. So no big deal. We take it off. We pulled this lifter out, and I spun this thing, and everything was spinning fine in my hands. And yeah, so I'm like, all right, well, no big deal. Probably got out of adjustment. These big blocks have a lot of spring pressure on them. Stuff happens. So moral of the story, we put this push rod in it, put a new adjuster in there. These may be mixed up. This may be Sunday, whatever. But we put a new adjuster in there, and we get ready to go run Monday. Not a worry in the world about it. Thought everything was good. Well, on Monday, going down the track, we were trying to go, like I said, that mid-teen number. This lifter quit spinning. And when this lifter quit spinning, it obviously ate it up. And it ate up pretty good. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of material missing there. This should be up, you know, probably 25, 30 thou. And it ate a bunch of material off the camshaft. I don't have the camshaft. I actually sent that back to Scotty so that they could get some pieces and parts off of it and make sure some stuff was right for our new one. But down at Par Racing Motors. But yeah, so it eats this up, eats that up. And what that ends up doing is when it gets all that adjustment in it, it also eats, you know, all this material off of the push rod. And so the rocker arm had all the lash in it. And all the lash in it actually ends up beating our valve stem through, it pushes it through the keeper. It actually, you know, deformed this. It deformed the keepers. You can see where it shoved the keepers. It's kind of hard to see how deformed they are, but they're really, it's not a bad angle. But they should be more like this side. But it pushes the valve through the keepers, and it drops a valve. Dropping that valve ends with us having this. So it breaks the valve stem off and beats the valve stem all to death. Beats everything all to death, really. Ends up getting a piston. And then it ends up, we put a rod in it, probably for no reason, but, well, maybe not for no reason, but I had fresh rods. I had a whole rack with me. So we end up putting a rod in it. The bearing looked fine. Everything seems fine. Definitely had some wear and tear on the bearing right there, but, yeah, so we end up putting a rack in, or we end up putting just one piston rod in it. We end up having to put our spare head on, which is no problem. I've never paid any mind to that before. Oh. But yeah, so we end up having to put our spare head on, and we, you know, take off. We're ready to go. Got everything put back together. Luckily, we had, you know, I had lifters. Got that bearing is from later in this story. But yeah, so everything's ready to go. In the race to put this thing back together, at the track on Monday, trying to stay in for the week. We have to silicone, or we used to, not going to have to anymore, but the channel walls on these motors, we have to silicone them. So you can see right here, when we're putting this intake back on, we silicone around it. If you can see right here, there's like a hole where it's silicone kind of missing. I can see all the way up in there. That piece of silicone sometime riding Tuesday, maybe riding Monday, who knows. At some point, that silicone falls off the inside right here and falls all the way down and works its way through and ends up in the pan. Well, these are wet sump motors. The oil pump is being driven off the camshaft through this camshaft, oil pump drive, MSD oil pump drive unit. It's not, our cam sync is in the front. That's just a drive unit to drive the oil pump. But Tuesday we run good. Track was kind of not in our favor. We end up turning in like a 57 or something like that. We're still happy with that. We're going to make things work. I'm not going to wreck the car. We hung around to see if we need to go faster to stay in front of anybody, but we were still sitting pretty at number 2, and we're not really trying to catch number 1 as much as we were waiting for them to slip up, which never happened. Ned and them made a great week. But yeah, so we end up hanging out, end up deciding not to make another one. Just the track was getting worse as the day went on, and people were tearing stuff up, and we didn't want no parts of that. So we tucked our tail between our legs and took our 657 or 58, whatever it was, and we took off, hit the road. The next day we're at Maple Grove, and we make one pass in the morning, and the thing is all over traction control. We're, it's getting on traction control, it's getting on wheelie control, it's freaking out. The pass was just kind of going to junk. We got behind the curve because I pedaled it, and the thing ends up lean popping. No big deal. When you get to pedaling them 3 or 4 times, sometimes you end up with a lean pop. So that's what happened. Didn't think anything of it, and we get back from the pass, and Eric is looking over data. We actually cut a tire on Tuesday, so I put a set of tires on that morning. We had kind of a rough night coming in with the mountains and all. Just had to go real slow and ended up stopping on the side of the road, bleeding the brakes one time. So I was pretty tired, and we made that pass, and we were just kind of waiting for the all run, hoping that the rain wasn't going to catch us. But Eric is looking over data, and he's like, hey, man, this thing lost, makes usually 75, 85, maybe up into the 90s with fresh oil going down the track, and this thing drops to, teens. It goes 15, 16. It dropped really quick, and we were concerned because when you lose that much oil pressure that quick, it's never a good sign. So, yep, we lost oil pressure, and we decide, hey, we're going to pull the pan off. So, nice 2-piece pan. Pull the pan off, and I don't know where it is. God only knows where it is because I probably threw it across the parking lot. But on the bottom of our oil pump, we ended up having a piece of silicone that fell off the intake, comes all the way down and sucks up into the bottom of our oil pump. And it was like a real, decently long curly Q. But it didn't stop it up completely, but, it stopped it up enough to knock, 20, 40, I guess like 40 to 60 pounds of oil pressure out the motor. And it did it at about 3 seconds into the run. So she'd had a nice long ride down the track with me pedaling it and freaking out. And the oil pressure's already jumping around a bunch because I'm pedaling it. And yeah, so it was a rough run on the old girl. The moral of the story is we find all the rod bearings in the motor are all trashed. And the main bearings were trashed as well. But the big problem was the rod bearings were all trashed. So we ended up putting a whole set of bearings in it, and these things range from not too bad to absolutely terrible. So this is what 2200, 2500, whatever you want to claim it makes horsepower looks like with 10 pounds of oil pressure. It won't do it but once or twice, I guarantee you that. That's a new bearing that just ended up getting laid back in there. And then that one, not that bad. That was, not a bad bearing right there. Some of these in here though, like those first ones I showed you, the majority of them, they got pretty smoked. That one had a bunch of trash go through it at some point, but maybe not directly related. But yeah, so we got all the rod bearings smoked in it. The problem is that I don't have main bearings for the motor. So we didn't bring any mains with us. Just a lap of judgment more than anything. Really didn't think I'd need them. Really didn't think I'd need the rod bearings. I more or less brought those in case we got a piston. We could put bearings on the rods. But yeah, lesson learned. Bring all the bearings for the whole motor. We never pulled the rod bearing. We never pulled the main bearings. Our reasoning was we had to make another pass if we wanted to stay in competition. We turned in, it was like a 7-0 or something, or 7-1 or something. So if we're going to be in competition and be competitive, we're going to have to make another pass. And I'd already reached out to some people, and nobody around us had rod bearings that were going to get them to us, or I'm sorry, main bearings that could get us them in a timely fashion. And by timely fashion, I mean the next 10 minutes. So we end up throwing them back together. Everything's good. We're happy. And we run her down through there. So it was fine. Everything was good. We're happy with it. We were so excited until I get right to the end of the track and I hear it when it lets go. So this time the fun begins. When it lets go, it lets go. The rod, it spun the rod bearing. So rod bearing. And the other rod bearing spins this rod bearing, tears this, ends up making a bunch of clearance, and clearance, you don't want a bunch of clearance. So ends up, literally ripping the rod off of it, ripping the big end of the rod off of the rod. And at that point, that was all she wrote. So it ends up kicking a bunch of shit around, ended up getting the crankshaft. So our plan was, and here I'm gonna flip this thing around. So our plan was that, even at the end of the track, we're talking. We're like, hey man, I got aluminum sheets with us. I got TIG welder. We can get the pan put back together because it's only one hole in the pan. Not a big deal. If the block isn't hurt past point of us fixing it here, and if the crank isn't hurt, because I don't have a spare crank, then we were gonna do our best to fix it. Rain was coming in, not an issue. We'd have found somewhere to stay dry, or hell, we might have just stayed wet. But yeah, we definitely would have tried our best to fix it. I had rods for it. I'm only down one rod. I'm sure one rod would still been fine inside the motor. But unfortunately, as soon as I pulled the pan off, it's clear as day. The crankshaft, it's got a big hit in it. The rod, the mains, and the block are split. So here, that last video I posted, you can go back there and see that nitrous motor that's got split mains. And that one right there is the same way. But for y'all that don't know, this is what I'm talking about. So when I say it's got split mains, you can see how this block right here is. It's the same way. The mains are broken. This one, yeah, and see this one's got another crack right there and a crack there. When something catastrophic happens inside these motors, especially when you lose a rod, losing the rod isn't the big deal. The problem is, you can see like all the damage up in the cam tunnel area here. The problem is the rod starts swinging around and then it'll find something to jam into, and then the crankshaft wants to go over center. And basically what it's trying to do is it's trying to determine what's made of a better metal, and what has more leverage. So the crankshaft that's got 7 other, or at least 6 other pistons trying to force it around, or that rod that doesn't want to turn, it doesn't want to break off. And the rods in these things are extremely strong to handle the RPM and everything you're asking out of them. That's an old Donovan block. You're not going to find those anymore. But yeah, so they're extremely strong. They're trying to handle all the horsepower these things will make. But at the same time, when something happens, the thing about the old weak aluminum rods, and like the nitrous motors were better about it because they didn't have such a beefy rod in it. These big MGPs are they're a strong damn rod. And then you run a billet crankshaft in them. The problem with these things is that there's nothing in them that's weak. And unfortunately, when you put all that stress into the block, it's like, it's the weakest link, the block. I'm not sure the billet block would do any better. It may. But even though we're not seeing catastrophic failure of the block, during normal running conditions. It just seems like every time we lose a rod in one of these things, it just destroys the damn block. So not really a issue, I guess. It's kind of an issue, but not really an issue. It sucks because you lose a block, and we're already losing a crank. It's one of those deals where you pretty much get done. You got an oil pan that looks like it's been shot with a shotgun, and you got a nice intake and, you know, heads that need some work, hopefully not too much. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an expensive lesson right there. We probably should have said no, we're not going to run it. We probably should have called a tow truck, loaded up, went home. Unfortunately, it's just not the way we are. If we're coming, we took off work, we made the dedication, we put in all the time and effort. Come hell or high water, you know, I'm going to try my best to finish them. So, you know, people were talking, hell, we were there testing the 2 days before drag week started. We got the backup motor in the truck. We got the spare trans in the truck. We got the spare trans in our little trailer. I mean, I brought damn near every motor I owned and every transmission I owned that would hold the horsepower. And if we tore some stuff up before the event started, we surely would have got it. We brought enough parts with us to put it back together if we did tear it up. Unfortunately, they won't let you change blocks, and that block over there ain't going to be worth saving. So with that being said, guys, I just wanted to jump on here. I'm probably going to do another little video right after this one, just about what it takes to run that fast. There's a lot of people that don't get me wrong, it takes a lot to run that fast, but at the same time, people act like you need something that you probably don't, in my opinion. So yeah, with that being said, guys, I just wanted to get on here, let everyone know what happened. This isn't a big block thing or a PAR thing or a MGP problem. This is a silicone problem. Actually, the backup motor is got the new intake on it that is O-ringed all the way around. So if you're running one of these Sean's custom alloys, and your engine builder will do that for you, get him to fix the china wall in that thing. Get him to O-ring that thing. We never had an issue with it until you end up in a situation like we were in, where you need to put it back together and get on the road immediately. And I think that's where the O-ring will really show its favor, because you're going to end up with just a little dab of silicone in the corners. But that china wall, you know, even ours where we've got, you know, a 1/16 inch of a gap, you know, just give them some room that if they ever deck the heads or mill anything or move anything a little bit, they got a little bit to play with, which is nice. But unfortunately, with what we do, it's definitely something to keep in mind. If you're building one of these things, you got one of these things. So yeah, guys, with that being said, I'm going to jump off here, do this other video about, you know, what I think it takes to run these speeds. And yeah, so thank y'all for watching. Spread the word if you hear anybody telling some BS about how big block Chevy won't run that fast. Everyone I know with big block Chevy, I don't know anyone that's tapping them out yet. I definitely think there is a tap out. We were at PDRA last night. They're running 350s like damn bracket cars in Pro Boost. I don't think you're going to do that with a big block, but you definitely can go very fast with one. Even the cast block, these are all cast hipped, but at the same time, I think we may find the limits of them, but we ain't got there yet. So with that being said, guys, all right, I'm gonna jump off here. See y'all. Thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.